Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. It's been a while. And today I'm going to be discussing the outstanding visual style of Cuphead. But you might ask yourself, how does this 5-year-old quirky run and gun game hold up? Well, let me tell you. To understand why it has a great style, first we need to look at all aspects of the game. First off, let's talk about the graphics. The game presents itself with a 30s visual style which I haven't really seen before in games. Aging modern games has been done before, but I don't think to the extent that Cuphead has done it. I understand the whole premise and lore of the game is set in the 30s, but to have the visual style and the graphics in the 30s as well is very nice to see. A neat thing about the graphics is in the settings you can actually set the color bleed to what you want it to be. There's really not much in graphical settings, but this is a very forgiving game, so it'll probably run on any system. Even with the artificial aging, the game still runs beautifully, looks beautiful, and I haven't encountered a single glitch while playing this game. There isn't a single flaw in how this game is presented, and that just adds to why it has such an amazing visual style. This game is just so well developed. I just wish more modern games were like this. However, because of live service, not many games like this are released anymore, and all the new games releasing always come with a handful of issues. It's really a shame seeing Studio MDHR, quite a small development team, release a more polished game than most AAA titles. The backdrops and the characters fit very well with the 30s aesthetic. There's really not much more to say about the graphics, to be honest. They just work very well. Now, moving on to the sound of the game. Let me tell you, this game's soundtrack is a masterpiece. It's just so good. Every single level has its own unique soundtrack. The music fits the 30s style so goddamn well. I mean, it literally sounds like all of this was made in the 30s. For this all to be original as well is very impressive. In addition to, the music just sounds great. The music progresses as you progress during the level. I also think it's important to address the fact that they had a whole orchestra to record the soundtrack for this game. Just think about how long it took them to create and perfect this soundtrack with just acoustic instruments. That takes a lot of patience, and that just shows how much love the developers have for this game. They really didn't have to try this hard to make a soundtrack for this game, but they did. And I'm very glad they did because it perfects the style. It makes every single boss fight just a little bit more unique. Say you are fighting a boss and you get to the climax of the battle, well, so does the music. It's like the melody makes a reaction to every move you make on screen. Now personally, I like all these songs because each of them are special in their own way, but my favorite has to be Floral Fury. God, it sounds great. Cuphead has to have one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. And with the D.L.C, I think the songs are even better, except from Floral Fury. Anyway, moving on to the gameplay and why it's so special. I mean, even disregarding its art style, its gameplay is so simple but extremely effective. It uses fairly basic mechanics in creative ways, and it takes a bunch of basic ideas and perfects them beautifully. This game keeps you guessing and eccentric to see what's next. Every boss and enemy has its own quirks and unique attacks. Honestly, this game gives me a feeling like no other with enduring designs and terribly hard challenges and boss fights. This game gives you a variety of abilities, attacks and power-ups to use. Each of these are useful in their own way. You would have to switch out these abilities each level to see what works best. You can only have 2 attacks and 1 ability at a time, so you need to make sure that you choose wisely. Each incar that you progress through, you get 1 power-up, which is pretty much your ultimate. Each of these power-ups, also known as super arts, help you a lot, such as making you invincible and dealing devastating damage. Choosing the right ability is also very important. Now, some of these bosses and run and gun missions can be quite the challenge. On my first playthrough of Cuphead, I ended up dying multiple times. The reason for that is probably just a skill issue, however, this is a difficult game. But whatever the case is, restarting a boss fight for me was like nothing ever happened. And this is probably because I was just having so much fun after each restart, thinking about the abilities I need, what kind of an approach I need to take out the specific boss. The lively music and voice acting at the beginning of a level is enough to keep you pushing. If you're tired of modern games being too easy and you opt for a challenge and you completed Dark Souls, then Cuphead is a pretty good game to play. I wouldn't say it's exactly too hard, however you do have to take multiple tries to take out a boss. There isn't really a greater feeling in Cuphead after defeating a boss and finally hearing knockout. I won't deny that the game is hard, yet it is part of its identity. For the gameplay, you receive a nice little sweet and short tutorial just to give you the basics of things, and after that you're thrown straight into the deep end. Straight into easier but kind of difficult boss fights at the beginning. It's what you love to see. For each fight, there is a simple and a regular option. Choosing simple is pretty much identical to regular, however the boss just has less HP. Therefore, fights are going to be a lot shorter than regular ones. This is great to get in some practice and learn all the moves from the boss before you actually beat them. I will have to say that if you're not someone who enjoys constantly repeating a level and memorizing every single move just so they can beat one boss, then this game might not be for you. This challenge is not for everyone, and that's fine. Some bosses do take a long time to learn. However, the way I see it, the harder the boss, the more rewarding it is to defeat them. Sometimes if you're finding it hard to beat a boss, I recommend just taking a break and coming back. Then you're more likely to have the patience to actually learn the moves and improve. Ironically, the old retro style of this game reflects its motive. How games back in the day were usually a lot more difficult. And if a game were to be released, it would have to be perfect and polished by launch, as well as it's having its own original distinguished style not done before. And Cuphead just achieves all of this on a spiritual level. Combining its amazing gameplay, soundtrack and graphics, the game has an outstanding style. In terms of its quality, I believe the game will keep its place for many years to come. If you were to ask me what game I think has the best style, I will reply with Cuphead. But anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, it helps out the channel a bunch. And before I go, enjoy some footage of me getting my ass whipped on Cuphead.